Well, this morning I've got a wonderful message from Jesus about the call to holiness and yet the sadness about how few people actually take him up. My children, with great pain in my heart, I reach out from heaven to lift you up to the heights of holiness, and yet so few of you are interested. Many of you, my children, have children. Imagine if one of your children suddenly won a once-in-a-lifetime scholarship to study in the best school in the country with the best teachers. Now imagine if your child suddenly replied that they had no interest as you watched them spending endless hours playing video games and wasting away their education. My children, that is exactly how I see so many of you. I reach out from heaven with my infinite love and offer you the opportunity to become great saints by following me, and yet like a teenager playing video games, so many of you ignore me, ignore this amazing opportunity, and tell me to go away. My children, do you not realize that you are playing with heaven and hell when you behave like this? Be not fooled by those who say that there is no hell, because I can assure you that it exists and that very many souls are there. Souls that if you knew them, you would have considered them good and respectable people. Turn to me, my children, and turn to prayer. You will not save your souls without repenting and following me on your journey of life. Eternal bliss in heaven awaits every soul that follows me with their lives and hearts. Wow. Well, Jesus certainly knows how to pack a punch. Well, let's start with the end. Eternal bliss in heaven awaits with Jesus. Can we only imagine what eternal bliss is like? And yet the reality is many people can't imagine what eternal bliss in heaven is like, and that's why they have no interest in following Jesus on earth. And so Jesus starts off saying with great pain in his heart, he reaches out from heaven with a once in a lifetime because we only have one lifetime. So he reaches out from heaven with a once in a lifetime opportunity to say, hey guys, you can use your life to become a saint. You can use your life to sanctify yourself, to purify your soul, and to have this massive place, if you like, in heaven with me for all of eternity. What could be better? What could be even a better investment, if you like, a better way to use your life than that? Absolutely nothing. And yet he says so many people don't take him up on it. And he uses this absolutely wonderful example. Imagine if you have a child and the child suddenly won a scholarship, and their scholarship is this scholarship to the most maybe prestigious academy or school where they're going to get educated beyond what would have been possible otherwise. And with all that child's talents, maybe they're very gifted in music, maybe they're very gifted in languages or mathematics or something, I don't know. And in this specific place, their gifts are going to get nurtured and they'll basically have an opportunity to really succeed, an opportunity that you didn't have. And so you tell your child, wow, it's amazing. And the child says, I don't want to go. I want to drop out of school. I just want to smoke weed, play video games, and basically I'm not going. And there you are, the scholarship opportunity passes by, say September starts as the school year, the child hasn't gone, and there you are watching your child wasting their life, hanging around maybe with the wrong people, wasting their time on video games, smoking dope or something like that. And imagine the tears, the sadness in your eyes when you know that that child was capable of so much more. And even 10 years later, 20 years later, maybe when you see your child suffering, maybe when you see that their life has gone wrong, and you say in your heart, gosh, imagine, my child, you could have made a success out of your life, or you could have done so much differently, and you wasted that opportunity, you wasted it. And so Jesus is saying, my children, that is exactly how I see so many of you. I reach out from heaven with my infinite love and offer you the opportunity to become great saints by following me. And yet, like a teenager playing video games, so many of you ignore me, ignore this amazing opportunity, and tell me to go away. And imagine how sad Jesus feels, because Jesus knows that it's not without consequences. And that's when he says, do you not realize that you are playing with heaven and hell when you behave like this? In other words, you're playing with your eternal life. It's not a game. Life is not a game. There's either heaven or hell and purgatory. And purgatory, of course, is for those people that choose heaven. But even choosing heaven, it's better to spend your life pleasing Jesus and to accumulate, so to speak, great riches in heaven than to somehow scrape in the last minute. Because even in heaven, there are degrees of glory. And Jesus wants us to be thirsty, if you like, so that not only we get to heaven, but we have the highest degree of glory. We have more crowns and jewels, and we're nearer to him in heaven. And so we're playing with eternity here. And now Jesus says something that I suppose some people wouldn't like, let's be honest. But be not fooled by those who say that there is no hell, because I can assure you that it exists and that very many souls are there. And then he says something that's quite cutting in a way. He says, souls that if you knew them, you would have considered them good and respectable people. And Padre Pio once said, he said, when you get to heaven, you'll be surprised by who's there. And even Jesus said in the Bible, he said tax collectors and prostitutes and all sorts of people are getting into heaven before you, he said to the Pharisees. And so sometimes people, and what Jesus is saying is some of the people apparently that are going to hell are not the axe murderers, are not what we might consider, the people who've done terrible crimes, the cannibals, the pedophiles, the prostitutes or whatever. They're not necessarily the people who we associate with grave, horrible, filthy sin. Jesus said many of the people that end up going to hell, if we knew them on earth, we would have considered them good and respectable people. And so we can imagine getting to heaven and opening the door and saying, oh, what is she doing here? I didn't think she'd make it. But we can also imagine the opposite, thinking, where's Johnny? Where's Johnny? And looking around, and Jesus says, Johnny didn't make it. And so Jesus isn't trying to scare us. He's not trying to frighten us. Jesus is eternally just, eternally merciful. But he's saying that often people who didn't make a firm choice for Jesus on earth and were sort of good, respectable human beings in a sort of a way, some of these people, unfortunately, when they die, they don't know Jesus and they choose the other way. And that is why Jesus, turn my children to prayer, because you will not save your souls without repenting and following me on the journey of life. But he also says eternal bliss in heaven awaits every soul that follows me with their lives and hearts. So eternal bliss in heaven. And let us remember that Jesus is love. Love, 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 love. He wants us to be with him all of eternity. He wants us to turn away from sin, not so that he's some sort of a spoil sport on earth. No, because he wants us to have an absolutely crazy life of love and of happiness on earth, the happiness that comes from following him and living a life of integrity, but also eternal happiness in heaven. Eternal happiness in heaven. And we start on earth by accumulating, so to speak, the graces and walking with Jesus. So on that note, let us be even extra motivated today for our own holiness, for the holiness of others, and let us preach and teach to the whole world about the importance and value of following our beautiful Jesus. Thanks for watching.